Hello, friends. Yesterday being the World Book Day, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite authors, Franz Kafka. I came to know about Franz Kafka during the 2020 lockdown around the month of June while I was preparing for my sixth and the final interview of Indian Civil Services exam. I was reading through the transcripts of the interviews. In one of that interview, a person had mentioned that his hobby was reading books and that he liked Franz Kafka. My hobby was also reading books, so I thought I should know who this person is. And one other incident also pushed me into this direction was the demise of Sushant Singh Rajput, and he had taken a decision to take his life away. And after that, there were so many videos of his memories and what he as a person was, and everyone were sharing many videos. In that, his library formed a very important part. And when I was going through that library, I saw that Franz Kafka and his books formed a very important part of Sushant Singh Rajput. And I hence, because of this, I started or I thought of reading Franz Kafka. And then I got hold of this book called as Metamorphosis, which is a very short story. So I started with a very short story where this story is about a person called as Grigor Samsa, a 30-year-old travel consultant, and he wakes up as an insect. So the first line itself, he wakes up as an insect, and he is late for his work. So people from work come looking for him. His parents are sitting outside. They start looking for him, and his sister is there. She starts looking for him, and he is not able to come out of the room because he thinks that, or he has converted himself or metamorphosized himself into this insect, and he feels a lot of guilt, a lot of anxiety of coming outside, and he feels that he has let down his family, let down his work, and many other things. Uh, then the story goes very slowly, and at the end, a tragic end happens, and he dies. But I could not understand the story or the crux of the story initially. But when I went for my interview, then I went for my interview where I gave my last and final interview, and then the results came. The results came at August 4, and I could not clear the exam. When I could not clear, and when I started realizing the fact that I've been preparing for this, or this dream has been there for 10 years, and I was not able to clear it in my final attempt, and there is slow realization that it was never going to happen. I felt a lot of guilt. I felt a lot of anxiousness. I felt that I have let down my friends, I have let down my family, and I realized the character. Then I went back to the character of Metamorphosis and what that character was, what Franz Kafka was giving through the character of Gregor Samsa was something similar to this act which happens in everyone's life. And hence, what I did was then I started reading all his other books or getting all his other books. So there is a book called as Trial. The Trial is, and then there is a book called as America, and then there is a wonderful book called as The Castle. And Metamorphosis is, of course, a very nice book. All these books actually, then I started reading all his works. When I read through all his works, I really liked him, and most of his stories are having a very dark plot where the hero or the protagonist does not really know what is happening, and he's confused. He's not able to get a particular answer. He's anxious, he's guilty, he feels guilt that he has not done or achieved up to his mark. So this has been a very common thread in most of his work. One other thing was also very common in his books was that most of his books have not been completed, or there is the ending, or some, or in most of the things the ending is very abrupt. And I wanted to know what was the reason for all this. So I uh, started searching about Franz Kafka and his life. And when I went through his life, I found that he had a father who was very demanding, and had high hopes on him. And Franz Kafka, being a very introverted person, he wanted to be a writer. He wanted to be someone who is good with words, but because of his uh, father's aspirations or father's uh, dream, he went for some work which was very mundane and which was very tedious, and he did not really like that job. And because of this, then I understood that what his protagonist in most of the books portray is that these protagonists portray everyday man or everyday woman struggling in their life, having their parents' aspirations, or friends' aspirations, or the society's aspirations, or the demands of society, carrying them in their shoulders every day, and not being able to achieve their own dreams, and not being able to live up to the dreams of their fathers in society. And that is a very traumatic event. Or even, for example, people going for work every day, and the company in which they work, they treat them as just a mere cog in a very big machine, and not let them really grow as a person. And this everyday trauma happens in most of the people's life, and most of them walk their life without any uh, without any without any message to the society, or without any problem. They get about and start working every day. But as a writer, Franz Kafka reflects all these traumas, or all these aspirations, or all these voices which lie voiceless among this world. And those words today have given us this story. But one other interesting factor which I saw in that life of Franz Kafka was he actually contracted tuberculosis at the age of 40. And at the time of 1920s, when tuberculosis, if somebody has tuberculosis, most often they die. And hence, on his deathbed, he asked his friend Max Brod. He asked his friend Max Brod to burn all his words. That is, all the words which we are holding right now. He asked all these words to burn it down. And it was a very, so I when we think about what he must have gone through in those moments, it is a very troubling fact, more than the troubling thing that his character portrays. But he unfortunately dies. But the most interesting part comes after this is that his friend Max Brod, he collates all his works. He takes all his works, and in a world where people take credit for things which they have not even done, in a world where people are more running towards achievement, success, to take someone else's work. Friend Max Brod happens to get all these works of Franz Kafka. He collates them, he delineates them into each story, and he actually publishes them. And now, as a result of Max Brod, we are holding the words of Franz Kafka, who wanted these words to be burned down. But now, coming back to this question of why to read, or why to read Franz Kafka, or what is the purpose of reading? People keep asking what is the need for someone to read books. Well, if you ask me, I really do not have an answer. I really do not have any justification as to why someone should read books. But when I read Franz Kafka, and when I'm able to touch the words that he has written, what he has written in these books, or in these pages, now, I feel that I am not alone in the way I'm feeling. Someone through his words, someone, Franz Kafka, through his words, reaches out to me across time and space. So, if you also read Franz Kafka, I am very sure that he will definitely reach out to you through his words and his stories. Thank you.